Those rainy days might have come to an end. I'll have the updates.
Just as big as our state are the numbers for early voting. And there is another election going on in Alaska, one that is very big. We'll have that story.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV Nightly News.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV Nightly News. I'm Michael Matthews.
And I'm Naomi Sanchez. What we're seeing is what is making news across Texas record early voting in Denton. Nearly 58% of all registered voters in the county have already cast ballots. There are 565,500 registered voters in Denton County, while over 327,000 votes have been cast, and that is a combination of both in-person voting and mail-in ballots that have been processed. North Texas is leading the state in voter turnout. Collin County is number one. 59% of the registered voters have already cast ballots, and Denton County is close behind at 58%. Statewide, more than 48% of all registered voters have voted. And for the other half of Denton voters waiting to cast their ballot, mask up. A federal district judge has ruled that Texas voters must wear a mask while voting. Governor Greg Abbott previously excluded polling places from his mask mandate. He said that was to ensure everyone could vote, even if they didn't have a mask. However, this mask exemption was challenged as discriminatory against voters who might be more susceptible to illness. Early voting ends this Friday, October 30th.
In an effort to win as many votes as possible, Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris will be making a visit to Texas this Friday. The Biden-Harris campaign made the official announcement today, but they have not yet released any additional details. The news of Harris's visit may be proof to some that Texas is turning into a battleground state. ntTV News will be at the rally.
Our weather is cold, wet, and miserable, but we are much better off than our neighbors in Oklahoma. Yesterday, they were slammed with a winter storm, and today, they are cleaning up. A major ice storm caused damage to neighborhoods in Oklahoma City. As you can see, leaves, branches, and limbs cover the roads of this neighborhood, making it impossible to drive through. The ice from the recent storm has made the leaves on the trees too heavy, which then caused them to collapse and crash to the ground. Drowned trees are making today's cleanup efforts difficult for residents in those hard-hit neighborhoods.
Well, Naomi, that winter storm was a surprise for all of us. Just a few days ago, we were seeing temperatures in the 80s.
I can tell you one person who likes warmer temperatures is our weather anchor, Donald Britton. Although tonight, Donald is braving the weather outdoors. Donald?
Thanks, guys. Well, it's another cold day here in North Texas. Right now, I'm out at Denton Square, and boy, it's cold. Temperatures have been in the 40s just about all day, and some of you might have gotten some rain. Right now, we're experiencing temperatures in the upper 40s, but it feels like 38. Going into tonight, temperatures will drop to the upper 30s, and I sure do hope y'all have on your heaters because it's going to feel like 30 degrees. Tomorrow, we're going to get some sunshine, but that cold weather will still be coming through. Wind speeds will be heavy tomorrow, so make sure you're wrapped up. That's it for the first look. Stay tuned for the full weather later in the show. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Donald. The number of COVID cases here in Denton County continue to climb. Today, officials reported another 4 deaths, bringing the total of COVID-related deaths to 127. Denton County also reported another 156 new cases of the virus. There will be a free drive-through COVID testing center on the UNT campus at Discovery Park. Testing will take place on Friday, and you must pre-register. Call the number on your screen, 940-349-2585, to make an appointment for the drive-through event. Coronavirus cases around the nation are surging as the U.S. reports 500,000 new cases over the past week. Johns Hopkins University is reporting 70,000 cases per day over a 7-day period. That average is higher than when the pandemic began. The increased number of cases and hospitalizations is causing states around the nation to reinstate restrictions.
We've got to hold on for a few more months, because if we don't, we're going to end up with a lot more infections, a lot more hospitalizations, and a lot more deaths.
With the possibility of infection greater than ever, it's important to socially distance, mask up, and get tested. If you are looking for a place to get tested, look no further than your local CVS. The major pharmacy chain wants to implement rapid result testing at nearly 1,000 locations by the end of the year. By the end of this week, however, nearly 100 of these sites will be open and operational. These tests will be available for free to patients who meet the disease control and prevention criteria. To schedule an appointment, you must register in advance at cvs.com.
While we are all doing our part to prevent the spread by being tested, a vaccine for the virus is still in multiple clinical trials. But have you ever wondered how a vaccine is actually made? CNN's Mandy Gaither gives us an inside look of the process.
It's a complicated process. Each step of creating a vaccine involves a lot of small details, each of which take time.
And at the end of the day, that's really what you want, a vaccine that not only is efficacious, but also is safe.
Dr. Jennifer Pancorbo knows all about vaccines in her role at NC State's Biomanufacturing Training and Education Center. She says the first step is design. Here, researchers learn about the virus, how it spreads, attacks, and takes over the body. Once that's understood, scientists can find a place to stop the virus along its pathway.
So that's what companies are trying to do, trying to use genetic materials to help the body find their path to the pathogen.
Next comes manufacturing. First, what's called upstream process, where she says researchers grow cells and produce the vaccine component or active ingredient that will be put into the vaccine. It then goes to the downstream process where the vaccine component is purified, separated, and put into the final formulation, one that is stable, ready to use, and easy to transport.
And that's how you end up with a vaccine in a vial or in a syringe that travels around the world in a fairly stable manner.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The creation of something as crucial as a vaccine can be tedious, but safety and effectiveness are the FDA's top priority. When we return, we have more on the coronavirus impact on the 2020 election.
And another hurricane zeroes in on the Gulf Coast.
Has the coronavirus impacted the way you vote this year? Experts say that COVID-19 is influencing the election in many different aspects this year, such as methods of voting and even who people are voting for. CNN's Nadia Romero tells us more.
As President Trump holds rallies with cheering supporters,
that's a lot of people.
Joe Biden is off the campaign trail, attending a virtual discussion on the COVID pandemic.
It's going to take a lot of hard work to end this pandemic. I'm not running in the false promise of being able to end this pandemic by flipping a switch.
The president insists
we're turning that corner, and it's been pretty amazing.
But the numbers and health experts tell a different story.
I think that the big issue is there doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
Data from Johns Hopkins University shows just this month, 29 states have set records for the most new daily cases since the pandemic began.
I think it will be easily by the end of 2021 and perhaps even into the next year before we start having some semblances of normality.
Voters are adapting to a new normal, many casting ballots in a different way this year. Already, the 2020 early vote total is about half of the 2016 turnout. It's driven in large part due to young voters.
We've seen an increase in the number of people asking questions about how to get registered to vote, and trying to get registered to vote.
Early voters are more likely to be Democrats, which is why the pandemic-era president presses ahead in swing states, hoping to convince every last supporter to cast a ballot, despite the coronavirus crisis. In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
The pandemic isn't the only thing stirring up the election. The popular app TikTok is limiting distribution of premature claims of victory during the election. This move comes from the Chinese-owned app is an attempt to stop the spread of misinformation. The app will allow this content to be posted after verification from a third-party fact-checkers or when the Associated Press declares a result. These efforts come amid the app's battle with the Trump administration over concerns for data privacy.
Well, it looks like Denton streetlights will be getting a bright upgrade. ntTV's Marjorie Morales tells us more.
The city of Denton may be looking a little brighter to you. The Denton City Council voted last year to replace all streetlights from high-pressure sodium to LED lights. This change will cost $3.5 million, and the return on investment is in the 10-year range. Although both bulbs are the same price, the executive manager of operations for Denton Municipal Electric, Chris Luthrick, says the decrease in maintenance will save the city money since the LED lights will last 3 times longer than the old light bulbs, and they will be more energy efficient.
So for us, it's a lower cost for our ratepayers. It puts more light on the street because our last audit we did, out of the 10,000 lights, we had 1,000 that were out. So then that becomes a safety issue.
He says the new LED lights will communicate by radio network to a computer so they can see when a light burns out or doesn't function properly. Councilwoman Keely Briggs says there have been some issues with the lights being too bright, but Denton residents can go to the Engage Denton app for issues.
We do have a section where you can go to report an issue, and it's street light issues, and you can either request your light to be dimmed or an outage. You can let them know that there is one that is out, and so they will replace the burned out bulb.
DME is currently putting up about 50 lights per day. According to the City of Denton, about 1,200 lights have been converted to LED. I'm Marjorie Morales for ntTV News.
The downtown square lights have already been changed, and all LED lights are expected to be up by this time next year.
As the city prepares for the holidays, I wonder what we can do to prepare for the weather.
Yes, indeed, Naomi. Our own Donald should have all the details about how to prepare for the upcoming week's weather.
Thanks, guys. It's not just cold here in Denton. Looking at cities across North Texas, temperatures are all sitting in the 40s. Dallas at 47 and Fort Worth at 46. A little bit of a difference as we look at temperatures across the state. Amarillo in the lower 30s and Austin and Houston are in the 50s. Now looking at our 7-day forecast, today was the last day that we're going to see some rain for a while. As we make it to Friday, we're going to be back in the 60s with some sunshine. We're getting sunshine but cool weather throughout the weekend, so perfect weather for Halloween. At the start of next week, we will see the same temperatures continue. Tuesday puts us back in the 70s for the highs, but for right now, I'm gonna do the wiggle dance so I can stay warm. We're back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Donald. The weather seems to be dreary everywhere, and our friends on the Gulf Coast are feeling it as they brace for another hurricane. CNN's Connor Powell has the info.
It has been a brutal hurricane season here in the Gulf, but it's not over yet with Hurricane Zeta barreling down on the region.
It's coming fast, it's coming strong.
Hurricane Zeta expected to pack a punch in the Gulf. A hurricane warning is in effect from Louisiana to the Mississippi-Alabama border, including New Orleans.
This is not a drill. We've had many of them. It's not a drill. We do expect directly impacting the city of New Orleans.
Once Zeta makes landfall, heavy wind, rain, and storm surge as high as 8 feet above normal tide is expected. Officials in Jefferson and Terrebonne parishes have issued mandatory evacuation orders for coastal areas and places outside major levees.
This is the 7th time that we've been in the cone of uncertainty, and I ask our citizens to please be prepared to shelter in place early afternoon through perhaps midnight tonight.
As officials urge caution, residents in the Gulf are prepping, getting sandbags, and preparing for yet another hurricane. If Zeta strikes Louisiana, this will be the 5th named storm to do so this season. Now with Zeta zeroing in, Louisiana's governor says his request for federal storm assistance has been approved.
It's going to be a rough evening for Louisiana, particularly in the southeastern portion. I am confident that we are well prepared for this storm.
Because it is such a fast-moving storm, some communities in northern Alabama and even into Georgia could see wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour over the course of the next 24 hours or so. In New Orleans, Connor Powell, back to you.
Zeta will be the 5th named storm to strike Louisiana this year. Next, we have more on a spooky new pair of tennis shoes,
as well as new ways Denton plans to keep Halloween festivities. If you've ever gotten sick or had an injury, chances are you were giving a prescription medication. The Drug Enforcement Administration has a National Take Back Day in order to provide Americans the chance to dispose of these medications properly. It is very easy for these drugs to get in the wrong hands, and according to a DEA survey, nearly 10 million Americans misused controlled prescription drugs in 2018. National Take Back Day aims to bring awareness to this issue and lower the abuse of prescription drugs. Now, on a more local level, UNT is taking part in this National Take Back Day. Our live reporter Mackenzie has more on the information.
Thanks, Nomi. If you're looking for a way to dispose of your unused prescription or over-the-counter medications, you can find it right here on the UNT campus. A drop box is available in the UNT Police Department lobby for anyone wanting to get rid of unused medications. The drop box cannot accept liquids, ointments, aerosol cans, inhalers, needles, or sharps. As a free service to the community, the drop box is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This drop box makes it super easy to keep drugs off the streets. That's all for now. Back to you, Michael.
There is some good news in 2020. Halloween will continue. Denton has multiple options for families this year, including some that let you celebrate while social distancing. This Saturday, Martin Luther King Jr. Recreation Center is hosting a drive-through treat or trunk event. Also throughout the week, Denton Parks and Rec is hosting an online costume contest. Cross Timbers Church hosted its trunk or treat last weekend.
We hosted a trunk or treat this past weekend, and it was all socially distanced. So each trunk was like 3 parking spaces away, and then all of the trunk hosts had to wear masks, and as they were distributing candy, they had to wear gloves. And then we had like picnic tables that were socially distanced away, and that at each table we had like Clorox wipes and hand sanitizer, so we could wipe down the tables in between each family.
Savannah also says the kids in her neighborhood plan on trick-or-treating.
If you want to make your shoe game a little bit more spooky this year, Reebok is out with the new footwear just in time for Halloween. The Ghostbusters sneakers are part of a new collection inspired by the iconic Ghostbusters movie franchise. The collection includes 2 pairs of sneakers named Ghost Smashers and Classic Leather. The collection is set to be sold online Halloween. Halloween night. The Classic Leather shoes sell for $100 and Ghost Smashers for $150. Along with the sneakers, the collection has several shirts and jumpsuits available like the ones in the movies.
UNT was expected to play on Halloween this year, but late news surrounding UNT may suggest otherwise.
I can't see anything.
Thanks, Michael. Coronavirus strikes again on UNT football. The World Series is finished, and the Dallas Stars have a new look. I'll have details after the break. The LA Dodgers look for their first World Series title in 32 years after falling just short for the past 4 years in the postseason. They took on Game 6 in the Tampa Bay Rays, and Randy Arozarena blast yet another big fly to right field. That was his 10th in the postseason, but Blake Snell was the cream of the crop for the Rays, 9 strikeouts and only allowed 2 hits. The 2018 Cy Young Award winner cruised through 5 1/3 innings. However, in the 6th inning on just 73 pitches, Dodgers' Austin Barnes singles up the middle, and that will take Blake Snell out of the ball game. A controversial pull by head coach Kevin Cash. Nick Anderson subbed in and allowed a hit by Mookie Betts down third base line to set up the tying run on third. 2 pitches later, Anderson with a wild pitch to score Austin Barnes to tie the affair. Next pitch, Corey Seager with a ground ball to first, which allows the speedster and Mookie Betts to belt home and give the Dodgers the lead. 1 inning later, who else but Mookie Betts with a solo shot to give them some cushion to the lead. 9th inning, Julio Urias with a 3-pitch strikeout to win the game, the series, and snap the World Series title drought and to break the postseason curse for the past 3 years. Corey Seager is named MVP, and Clayton Kershaw, a future in Cooperstown, gets his first ring. The LA Dodgers and LA Lakers make history by winning their respective titles in the same year twice. UNT football game against UTEP has been canceled due to positive cases in the UTEP locker room. 100% of beds in the hospitals nearby have been filled. Head coach Seth Luttrell gave his thoughts.
Yeah, I know Coach Demo and myself. We both want to play the game, obviously, and so we'll find a date that we can eventually play on. Most importantly, it truly is about our student athletes, health and well-being, and I get it. That's part of kind of the world we're living in right now. Football is football, and it's important. It's important to these kids, but health is way more important. Just thinking about it, if you go down there and everything's occupied and it's 100%, the hospitals are where they're at. If one of our kids gets really, really injured,
where do they go?
Where do they go? We promised parents that we were going to take care of their children. And so, to be honest with you, I hate it. I don't like it, but I think it's probably the right call.
UTEP and UNT's game is planned to be rescheduled. However, UNT's next game will be hosted at Apogee Stadium as they will tackle on Louisiana Tech and expect to win 2 in a row. The Dallas Stars just released an alternate blackout uniforms, which dates back to the team's first jerseys by reestablishing black as their primary jersey color. During the first 20 years in Dallas, the Stars used black as the base color in their jerseys. They also featured the introduction into the bold skyline green. Several new logos and accessories on the jersey, but the helmet is even ditching the star on the side for the first time since 2013. Instead, the helmet will feature the words Dallas Stars wordmark in skyline green. After a lights-out performance last season, the new jersey style fits perfectly. Mike Lanomi, back to you.
While the presidential debate is heating up here, up north we have a really interesting voting going on between a bear and a hen. Let's take a look.
Ooh, it's a tough race. It's a tough race. It's a heated race. It's a passionate race.
A race with a massive brown bear taking an early lead at the Alaska Zoo.
There's Mr. Izzy. He's going to be our future president of the zoo, you guys.
Izzy is the favored candidate for president of the Alaska Zoo so far. His handler, Sam Lavin, speaks on his behalf, as any good campaign manager would.
I don't know if you can see him. He's a large brown bear. He's amazing.
Lavin says the first-time candidate is running on some key issues.
Izzy is a very food-driven bear, and he thinks everyone should be as food-driven as he is.
A bear who knows how to take what he wants and give it back to his fellow zoo residents.
So everyone gets lots and lots of food.
However, this election isn't won on votes, but campaign donations.
So it's a fundraiser for us, and every dollar is a vote. So you can vote often, and you can vote a lot.
Lavin says a vote for Izzy is a vote for all bear kind, and whatever else his constituents might be.
You know, he wants everybody to be happy and healthy and be a good ambassador for their species.
And undoubtedly, more salmon sickles for everybody.
What a great story. Thanks for watching ntTV Nightly News.
Join us again tomorrow night at 6 on North Texas Television.